Welcome to the Bussiers Podcast, where the voice is loud and the reason is raw. I am your host, Dale Elliott. People, remember, like the video and subscribe. Share the video. Listen to the audio version if you can't watch the full video on YouTube. Me available on Spotify and me available on Apple Podcasts. Now we're moving on. So, effective September 8th, the Queen of England has passed away. You know, people would say Her Majesty. You know, as a person who grew up in the Caribbean, you know, we are taught that the Queen is the head of state, which is facts. My country was a colony of England, and therefore we should respect it. And young people, we're in an age of social media right now where a lot of things are being said on the internet about, some people are celebrating it. Some people are sad, some people are mourning, and some people are making a lot of jokes about it. Now, I am saying this is a very touchy topic, and I think you guys should thread the needle as it relates to what you guys are putting out on social media about this specific matter, because you never know who is watching and you never know who might take offense to this, because remember, these are very important and powerful people. So that is all I have to say in that regard. Now, the main topic today is colonization and how it is affecting the country right now. And I think the topic of the Queen and bringing up what happened yesterday or bringing up what happened is basically just to refresh you guys about how it all happened. And so the British took over Jamaica, I think in like 1645 or 1655. I need to be fact checked on a lot of these because I've learned these things a while now. But the British took over Jamaica in the early 1600s or mid 1600s, and now they are the head of state. Now we are an independent country, which is Jamaica, and majority of the countries in the Caribbean are independent countries. The British monarch is nothing what it used to be. It is a shadow of itself, honestly, but they have managed to maintain their culture and maintain their prized possession, which is, glorifying of the monarchs, which is prince, king, queen, duke of duchess, and all of those wonderful things. They have managed to keep that. Now, a lot of people are disagreeing with the means of how they became that wealthy and that powerful. And these are historical facts. Yes, we were colonized by the British, and they came to the Caribbean and they basically extracted majority of the resources for their financial gain, via sugar cane, which they needed for rum and they needed for tea to sweeten whatever they wanted to sweeten. So we were seen as basically cash cows, and I personally believe that in the 1900s, approaching the 1950s, they started to realize that honestly we were not as profitable as we were for the 400 plus years they owned us for. So they decided to let us be and leave us. I'm not sure if it is 400 years, it's probably 300 and something, but you guys get where I'm going. No, there's a lot of things we can look at and say it is bad, but you guys have to realize that is the culture of Britain. No, they have a culture in which they really conquered the world. They really set the standard for what the world is like today. Every inch of this world, there is a footprint left behind by the British rule. Therefore, things that we do in my country is as a result of colonization. Very simple things as well. So the British monarch is why in Jamaica we wear school uniforms. A lot of people don't know that because it's the same in Britain. If you should visit London, which I have been, I was fortunate enough to do, you would realize that even simple things like the name on the street. There is a Princess Street in London. There's a Darling Street in London. Just like how there is a Balmoral in Britain, there's a Balmoral in Jamaica, Balmoral Avenue. There is North Parade, South Parade, East Parade, Trafalgar. These are places that are in Britain that you can find in Jamaica to this day. Some of the structures in downtown, the buildings, how they are built and stuff, that is as a direct result of British rule. And when you visit London, you are going to realize that, whoa, they literally copied their structure and brought it to the Caribbean. I still think that is something to be thankful for. Our government systems, the type of government we have, the first past post, the two electoral parties where you get to choose which one by voting, our court systems, as which we have the highest court in Jamaica is the Privy Council, which is in Britain. So we have the Governor General, which honestly the purpose of the Governor General is to be as advisor to the Queen. I have always been confused because that is literally just a figurehead, because he doesn't necessarily have any political say in Jamaica running in the economy and anything. So he would be considered as like Jamaican royalty, because I really don't see his purpose actually. And I think the big issue that people are having right now with the Queen is just that culturally British people and the British monarch, they were conquerors and they were rulers, and they were successful at it for hundreds of years. So now in the 21st century, which we are having different people with different perspectives, and we're thinking on a higher level now, in which we now have a better sense of right and wrong, and there is more level of equality being showed between blacks and whites, or men and women. So now we have the privilege to speak up about things that we were not happy with. And now that the Queen has passed, you are seeing where a lot of people are displaying their displeasure with her, which I don't think is really warranted, because this is culture. This is culture to her. This is how she grew up. She did not really ask to get the position that she got. And if you realize, it was literally a job. If you go to a job right now and you resign or you retire or God forbid you die, you are going to be replaced. The Queen was replaced in less than 24 hours. That is why I am always telling you that everybody is disposable. So you need to, anything that you're doing, try to make sure that you are in complete control over it, because at the end of the day, you will be replaced. So it is not a issue now where we shouldn't celebrate anybody's death, honestly. If I think, stay silent. Anybody who is making jokes, listen to me. Some of these jokes are very funny. I laugh. But as I said before, you don't know who is watching. Because I've made a joke about it, but it wasn't to the point of, discrimination or anything like that. So that's why I'm always saying that we have to be mindful. Everybody has freedom of speech, but we don't necessarily have freedom from consequences of what can happen. Now, if you realize, out of formalities, a lot of world leaders has went out and is like, oh yes, we have days of mourning, and everybody has expressed their condolences, and everybody's helping the royal family to cope with their death, with her death. She's 96 years old. I would imagine that she had a wonderful life. I remember when I visited London and I realized that so much we have in common with London, with Britain. We have so much in common you wouldn't even understand. If you realize, in the Caribbean and especially in Jamaica, where you see there's a church and a bar everywhere, there's literally a church and a bar everywhere in London. And the word pub, which we see a lot in Jamaica, you literally see that in London a lot. I would say British people, a lot of British people drink a lot. I think European people, they're very aggressive users of alcohol. And I think we directly inherit some of those traits, because there are bars on every other corner in Jamaica. There is a bar that is a pub. When I was younger, I used to visit the market, and when you go to the market, you would see people selling fish, and the fish would be right on the floor, and somebody would be trying to buy it. That is literally the same thing when you visit London. If you go to the Brixton market, you are literally going to walk and you're going to see people trying to get a sale. Similarities as much as even something as simple as a newspaper. The newspaper abroad, the newspaper in London is similar to the newspaper in Jamaica. And I think that is unbelievable, because it is so much alike, but at the same time so different. Taxes, our whole economy, our structural development, our education, because we speak the Queen English, everything was influenced by colonialism. So although it is bad, we didn't necessarily have a choice, and nobody can really predict the future. A lot of what was taking place, and a lot of what black people went through, we know is as a direct result of colonialism. A lot of resources which were pillaged and extracted from my country were as a direct result of colonialism, which we are still trying to recover from right now, hence why we are a third world country. Hence why we are suffering from inflation, and hence why the dollar doesn't have a strong value as per, say, the US dollar or the British pound or the European, I don't even remember that name, Euros. So when I say everything is so, like, I realize a lot of people are saying bad things about the situation which is happening, but I am trying to show you guys as a different perspective as to where they are responsible for everything down to the God you guys worship, everything down to Christianity, going to church on a Sunday, praying. The religion we know right now is as a result of colonialism, whether you like it or not. Chances are, if we were in Africa, we probably wouldn't have been Christians, which is the religion that you guys hold so dearly. It is the same religion that was used to enslave us. So the same thoughts or disagreements that you would have with colonialism. Make no mistake that the same God you pray to at night was introduced to us by them. So be very mindful of that. All in all, this is a very this situation is a very big one in terms of a lot of things are going to change, because now we're seeing because of freedom of speech, people are literally questioning why do we still have a monarch? And I think the royal family has managed to remain relevant and to escape scrutiny in a way of which they're still held in high regards. Because I am a lover of history, and honestly, for a family to remain in power or as a monarch for that long is extremely commendable, because a lot of kings and queens throughout history don't end well. There have been a number of kings and queens that are emperors which ruled over dynasties, and they all met their demise in some way. And I personally think that because we're now in a new age with a new set of people, the British monarchy has managed to now captivate the people in a way now where they might be seen as bad things to some people, the people who I think are oppressed. But you guys have to remember that we're black, and as black people, our culture was the enslaved. We weren't necessarily we are not going to resonate with anything as it relates to Caucasian culture. So when you see them cry or when you see them moan, that is their culture, that is the pain that they're feeling. We, on the other hand, we have been through it in a different way, in which now we're taught to forget about it. I would say don't forget about it. I would acknowledge you to read and learn about it and understand why some things happen the way they do. But at the end of the day, never celebrate someone's demise. And honestly, I would love to live to the age of 96 years old. That's the age when I would perfectly go to sleep. And I would have zero issues with living that long. So don't celebrate people's demise. But trust me, man, colonialism, the effects that colonialism have on Jamaica to this day, when I say it's unbelievable, it's down to the police uniform. Down to the uniform that the police wear is similar to the uniform that the British police wear. And it is unbelievable. You have to see it. You have to visit England to realize how incredibly similar we are to each other, and how much our culture has influenced them, because we have influenced them a lot. And at the end of the day, those who were privileged enough to travel to London or to travel to any country which was colonizers of our country, luckily I have been fortunate enough. I visited Spain and I visited Britain. So those were the two countries which colonized Jamaica, and I can see little remnants of how we are the way we are. And I think a lot of the blame can be placed on our colonizers. But right now we are being governed by people which were born and raised in Jamaica, have the Jamaican principles. And I'm not necessarily saying forget or forgive. I'm just saying, when it happens, you sit and see what's going to happen right now. She's going to have a king. There's going to be there is a king. No, I don't think there's going to be a queen for a while. But if I'm going to predict, I think the royal family in England is probably going to have to change a lot of things going forward, just to adapt, because the growing voices, more voices are being given to the voiceless, especially in social media and people opinion. And you have to remember that they need to remain important. When I say important, they need to remain in control. Now, remember, Britain has a premier or a prime minister, whatever they call it. So therefore, the royal family are just figureheads. They're literally they have stepped away from governing. They're not necessarily responsible for anything. It is like the Governor General of Jamaica, in which if you go to London, yes, she's on all the printed money, and the family is praised and is loved, but majority of the economic decisions are taken by their prime minister, and they are still a democracy. You still can vote, but they are at the top. It is like the courts in Jamaica, where the Supreme Court and the High Court, that is it. But after those places, there's a Privy Council. Normally, you don't necessarily go to the Privy Council. One, you have to be very wealthy to get to even go there, and you have to have time to wait, because that is a lot of time. That's a lot of waiting. So, it happened. She lived a long life, honestly, and have the Caribbean people really felt the strain of colonialism during her reign specifically. During her reign, we can take out a lot of positives, although there are negatives, because the damage was already done when she became queen. Now, she became queen in, I think, 1950 something. I'm not sure if it's 52 or 55. But when she became queen, we were already on our way out of their system of governing, in terms of we were a British colony right before she became queen. Now, after she became queen, we were moving out. We started the Federation in 1958, and then we literally moved out by 1962. So we were our own governing country. I would say if she had the power to stop that, and we ended up being independent. She owned India. India became independent. So you can see where, in all our years of reign, this is probably the weakest the British monarch has ever been, because a lot of the places which they literally owned and considered property were emancipated and made independent. So there are a lot of changes that has been made. Under her reign, we've seen where her grandson her grandson or her great grandson got married to a black girl. That is a big accomplishment. We've really seen a lot. You barely hear her speak. I haven't really. If she had thoughts of anything bad, she didn't really share it. Maybe because all my life she has been old. I don't know how it was earlier before my born, but all my life she has been old. Now, I find it very interesting how much Britain respect the monarch. The God save the Queen, and I find it very interesting, that level of respect. I think that level of respect is way higher than the level of respect that is given in democracy. But what I like about democracy is that I can come and I can speak. I can speak, and I have a choice to prove, and I have a choice to choose who I feel fit to govern me. Now, the people of Britain have a choice, but they don't necessarily have a choice as to where the monarch is concerned. But the monarch is just a figurehead, but they have managed to keep power in a ways which it's not violent, it's not controversial. They're just here. They're literally like the Kardashians, and they're keeping that tradition. I think tradition is something which is very important, and I think we as black people, we need to look at things like those and try to emulate it with our family, in terms of, people might not agree with me, but like having a son and naming your son the second and the third, and I don't necessarily see a problem with it. Only thing is that we don't really have our like native names. We don't have African names, because we all have English names. So even though you bash and you speak out against a lot of the injustices that took place during slavery or after slavery, I really disagree with a lot of things. I personally believe that it is unfair for us to as Jamaicans to need a visa to visit London or Britain after they've owned us for that many years, and it was very unfair. I know there was a situation in which a lot of Jamaicans went during the period of Windrush, but I still feel like we are lesser because we're not invited to Britain in open arms. It is not like I really believe that freedom of movement should exist as to where we can travel to Britain whenever we feel like. But I think that is as a result of the state they left Jamaica in. They know that the level of poverty is so high, and the education or whatever, however they looked at it, they knew that people are going to try to leave here to go there for a better life, so they kept us out. And I'm not sure how many other Caribbean countries that were colonized by Britain cannot visit there, but I think that is actually a shame. I really think we should have been awarded at least freedom of movement. As it relates to reparations, I don't think we're going to get anything from them. Will anything change since her demise? Honestly, I'm not really sure. I've heard some things about Andrew Holness. He made a statement, which he has to. It is a formality. I am sure the Governor General has made a statement as well, but I don't know. I'm seeing where the BBC changed to, black and mourning. We already wanted to remove the Queen as our head of state in Jamaica, because a few Caribbean countries have done so. I think Barbados has done so. But I personally would like to know what would change if we remove the Queen as head of state, because I did not see the purpose of the Queen being the head of state in the first place, if you understand what I'm saying. So what would really change, but it would be good. We are a sovereign country. Jamaica is a sovereign country, so to have I'm fine with having just a prime minister, because I don't see the purpose of the Queen or the Governor General. But yeah, we are living in very serious times now, where we have seen so much things. At my small age of 26, I have witnessed hurricanes, tornado, pandemic, the longest rain end. The Queen has witnessed every single World Cup. The Queen witnessed, I know she was alive for World War II. So, she lived a very calm and illustrious life of wealth, and a lot of the countries of which she resided over suffered miserably, and majority of the resources which were extracted from us are still there, especially in Africa. A lot of resources were extracted from Africa. I know they won't be returned. That is property of the crown. A lot of resources were extracted from India as well. I know nothing will be returned. But in all honesty, we have moved on, and we are fairly a young country. We are striving to get better and make better of ourselves and our economy. So therefore, the demise of the Queen is nothing won't change. It is not something that should be celebrated, because she didn't, the damage was already done before she got there, if you understand. So yeah, you're going to celebrate. That is not something to celebrate. And if you don't feel any sentimental values to her, just probably, don't comment, but don't say things you don't mean. So, and I understand we're being funny and, we're making joke about it, but yeah, just remember, you don't know who is watching. So you have to be very careful. And we still just have to acknowledge that we have to hold them accountable for a lot of things, which has made Jamaica the state that it is in right now. And we could have been better with more help from them. We have repeatedly go to them for handouts. We don't necessarily get it. I know she visits Jamaica sometime, and the royal family comes to Jamaica sometime, and they make a big deal out of it. But I still, as a young adult, don't see the purpose of having a head of state, because we are an independent country. So why do we need a head of state that is not in the country? So now we are going to have the king. So now we are going to, instead of say God save the Queen, we're going to say God save the king. The money that has been printed, they're going to have to change out those notes and put the king on the notes. I I only find it sad that I cannot watch any football for like 2 weeks because it's a period of mourning. That hurt me because Arsenal was supposed to play this weekend. So we have a lot of pauses and a lot of people are mourning. Their families mourning, but I don't think it's something that people should mourn about. And if you don't feel like you need to celebrate, you just don't. Because at the end of the day, if I had any relative that lived to 96 years old, I would celebrate. I would honestly say that person has lived a very long and illustrious life and very eventful life and very comfortable life. They have made a lot of people's lives miserable, honestly, while they stay in their castles and live off people's taxes because they're royalty, and that is what they are known for. And you just, at some point, there is really nothing we can do, and that is just how the world is. And all you have to do is try to educate yourself, and at the end of the day, we're in an economy right now where you can make your life what it is. I don't necessarily think we should be blaming other people for anything right now. We should just focus on moving forward. So in my comments are basically questions. How are we going to move away from having the monarch as our heads of state? What are they doing? We cannot travel to that country for free. Not even free, but we need a visa to visit that country. It is seen, it can be said that a lot of people from that country have a lot of resentment towards us. I see where a lot of people from my country have been deported back. It is so hard to even get legal status there if you overstay. In terms of Britain, I don't see that place as a place of refuge. It's not somewhere that I would like to live. Probably because of American imperialism, in where the West is seen more fashionable and more like young and hip and popular than the East, where the Britain or the Queen is. Because honestly, I like nice houses and I like modern things. And when you go to Britain, they kind of maintain a rigid structure as to where everything is almost the same way it was in the 1800s. Inside the house is probably changed. The hotel rooms are very small. The sun don't necessarily shine the same. The place looks mostly bleaky. There are a lot of things that characteristics of people in that place where I think sometimes it's probably unhealthy. So I would necessarily, there's not a lot to celebrate about going there. So, but I believe that we really should have been given the choice to go there. But, I implore you guys just to subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is me just giving my view about what is going on right now and how I think we as Caribbean people should move forward. This is me just asking you guys some questions as to where I know will give your brain cells some things to do. Look away from the negatives, look at the positives, and take the good from it. Honestly, the voice is real and the reason is raw. And I'm out.